Chapter 1609. Elvis sighed helplessly and stood on the spot without moving. He said calmly, "I am the Wolf King." "I know. I am the Wolf Queen, so what?" Gu Mingming straightened her neck and roared. Leo was laughing so hard that he could not stand up straight. He placed one hand on Elvis's shoulder and pointed at Gu Mingming with the other. "Have you forgotten? Gu Mingming said before, a pregnancy makes you stupid for 3 years. Ha ha ha. We are going to have a hard time these 3 years." Elvis sighed and repeated, "Queen, I am the Wolf King." Gu Mingming was bewildered by his laughter, but she could not lose her stance. She straightened her neck and repeated, "I know. So." Cough. Kanwu climbed up from behind Gu Mingming and wrapped his long arms around Gu Mingming's waist. Then he turned her behind him and laughed out loud. "Mom, I am an adult male. I will be laughed at if I hide behind a female to avoid a battle. Don't forget, the warriors of the wolf tribe are never afraid of battle or death. Most importantly, you're the only female in our family. Whether it's your 2 crazy partners or us 4 brothers, none of us are cowards who hide behind you when you're in danger. Instead, we're the armor that stands in front of you. You're the one who should be protected, understand?" Gu Mingming was a little touched by her son's words, and her eyes watered instantly. "Son." Before Gu Mingming could say her touched words, Kanwu laughed suddenly and said, "Moreover, Mum, you are really a little silly now. Your crazy partner is the Wolf King. If he wants to kill me, he doesn't even need to step on your corpse. He just has to stand there and stare at me and I will definitely die. Waving his fist at me proves that he has no intention of killing me. You suddenly pounced on me and made me so emotional that I am embarrassed. Ha ha ha." Gu Mingming really wanted to give Kanwu a hard slap, but she clenched her fists and eventually only poked Kanwu's head. She comforted herself by saying, "Biological son, you are really my biological son." Kanwu grinned foolishly and hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders, saying fawningly, Mum, seriously, why don't you get to know that new lover? Thick brows, good skin, broad shoulders, narrow waist and perky butt." Bang. Before Hu Jinwu could finish his sentence, he fell heavily onto the ground. Just as he said, Elvis did not even move his feet. He just raised his eyebrows and Kanwu was already sprawled on the ground, unable to get up. "Mum." Kanwu begged for mercy and howled. Gu Mingming glanced at him coldly and said, "You can just speak. Why are you so touchy? Release my son now." Elvis took a deep breath and did not let go of Kanwu. Instead, he walked to Gu Mingming's side and pulled her into his arms. He looked straight at Gu Mingming with his blue eyes and asked, "Do you have any thoughts about the new lover he arranged?" "No." Gu Mingming answered without hesitation. These 2 words successfully pleased Elvis. Elvis nodded and let go of Kanwu. He looked down at Kanwu from above and said, "Brat, if you try to shove people under my nose again, I don't mind permanently paralyzing you and making you a boneless wolf for the rest of your life." Chapter 1610. Gu Mingming Facebombed. Back then when he was still a little wolf cub, he was really cute like this. But now a 1.9 meters tall giant was rolling around on the ground making a scene. It was really unbearable to watch. Sighing, Gu Mingming said calmly, "Kanwu, get up." "No." Kanwu snorted angrily. "Meet the new lover I prepared for you. I won't get up if you don't see him." "See, I'll see him." Gu Mingming sighed, then gave Elvis and Leah a comforting look. Wasn't it just meeting someone? She just had to say she didn't like him when she saw him. Just treat it as coaxing a child. Why was there a need to be so serious? Elvis also knew that he had already hit Kanwu twice today. If he were to hit him again, Gu Mingming would really fall out with him. She had always been unscrupulously biased towards Huda and his brothers. Tolerating him twice today was already her limit. Alright, wasn't it just meeting a new lover? Hopefully, that new lover was lucky enough to be able to take a beating. Hearing that Gu Mingming was willing to meet him, Kanwu then crawled up from the ground. Ignoring the pain from Elvis's 2 punches, he hurriedly waved to the side and howled. Then, someone slowly walked out from behind the tree. He tried his best to make himself look calm, but his stiff expression and hands that did not know where to place them showed how uneasy he was. Gu Mingming could not help but smile bitterly when she saw who it was. She looked at Kanwu and asked, Victor is the new lover you introduced to me? If I remember correctly, the last time I left Zacharias, I had already clearly rejected him. No matter what, Gu Mingming would not have any other thoughts towards a little tiger who was about the same age as her own son. She did not forget that the first time she saw this little tiger, he was rolling on the ground with Kanwu, fighting fiercely. In Gu Mingming's eyes, Victor was just like her son's classmate. Once again, Gu Mingming was not a strange auntie. She was not a pedophile. Kanwu pulled Victor and forcefully pushed him in front of Gu Mingming. He whispered into his ear, "Let me tell you, this is really your last chance. If you don't grab hold of it, my mother will really fly away. As your brother, I'm willing to do anything for you. Look, I didn't even flinch when my father beat me up. If you dare to flinch, I'll bite you every time I see you in the future, even if I bite you to death." Victor was originally very nervous, but he relaxed quite a bit after being mocked by Kanwu. He glanced sideways at Kanwu and said, "Tisk, how can you speak to your elders like that? Who can you bite to death with that mouth of baby teeth of yours? If I don't fight back and let you bite me, I'm afraid your teeth will fall off." Kanwu's temper flared up and he wanted to hit someone, but after looking at Gu Mingming, he tolerated it. She gave Victor a shove and said, "You can pretend to be an elder in front of me after you've chased after my mom. Hurry up, don't dawdle." Victor also gave Kanwu a shove, then tidied up his beast skin dress. He looked up at Gu Mingming and said, "We meet again. I'm actually quite good. Why don't you try? You can abandon me if you're not satisfied, I won't blame you." Try. These two words shocked Gu Mingming so much that she felt like she was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. How could she try this? Gu Mingming felt a mouthful of blood rolling in her chest. She really wanted to vomit it on Victor's face. Did this child's head get squeezed by a door? Chapter 16:11. Don't reject me. Victor suddenly looked up. Panic and uneasiness could be seen on his face without any psychological knowledge. "I don't want much. I just want to be by your side. I won't force you, because I will stay behind. You just have to bring me along wherever you go. My hunting skills are very good. I can help you hunt whatever you want to eat. Moreover, my original form is a tiger. It's quite impressive. After all, I'm the king of the forest. It's cool to be your mount." What about me? Kanwu was infuriated when he heard that. He kicked Victor from behind and said, "I'm helping you pave the way so that you can keep my mother. You haven't even taken the position yet, and you're already betraying me? Scram, scram, scram. Didn't you see what level my two fathers are at? Do you even have a chance to hunt? King of the jungle. There are two beast kings right here, and you're just a Hello Kitty in front of them, huh? I don't need a stepfather who won't help me keep my mother." Humph. Gu Mingming watched as Kanwu and Victor fooled around. She was not angry and just felt that it was quite good. She was still worried that Kanwu would be lonely when Qi Xian was no longer by his side. After all, it was very rare to have only one child in the beast world. She was really worried that Kanwu would be alone after she left. But now it seemed that although he and Victor were fooling around, their relationship seemed to be very good. This way she could rest assured. After Kanwu sent Victor flying with a kick, he leaned forward and stared at Gu Mingming. "Mother, this tiger is not good. It's normal that you don't like him. Why don't we change to another one? What do you think of Master Burke? I heard that he has a face that's very similar to the one you like. I reckon that with his capabilities, he would be willing to be a substitute by your side. Why don't you consider him?" Gu Mingming sighed and patted Kanwu's shoulder. "Kanwu, no matter where I am, I will always be your mother. You won't lose me." Kanwu's face darkened. He lowered his head and no longer spoke. Of course, he knew that no matter where Gu Mingming went, she would always be his mother. Moreover, he did not grow up sticking by Gu Mingming's side every day. He was not a mama's boy who could not survive without his mother. But this time, it was really different. He just felt that if he did not make his mother stay, he might not be able to see her again in this lifetime. This premonition made him very uneasy. He was so uneasy that he wanted his mother to stay no matter what. But his stubbornness was putting his mother in a difficult position, wasn't it? He shouldn't have mentioned Borg. He knew that his mother was most afraid of owing emotional debts. It wasn't as if his mother didn't know what Burke had done for his mother. It was just that one of them pretended to be mute, and the other pretended to be blind. This was a tacit understanding between the two of them, and he shouldn't be the one to break the ice. Mom, I know. Seeing Kanwa's dejected look, Gu Mingming's heart ached again. She hugged Kanwa in her arms and comforted him. Even if I am not by your side, I still love you. I know that you have good friends by your side and will have a gentle lover in the future, so I am very reassured. You too, you have to know that Elvis and Leah will always be by my side. They will take good care of me, so you don't have to worry, understand? Kanwa nodded, like an eggplant that had been hit by frost. Chapter 16:12. Actually, he was already an adult. When other males transformed into half-orcs, they should have left their parents and started their own family, but he still lived under his parents' protection for 3 to 4 years. It was not that he did not have the ability, it was just that he was like a kite. Because he was tied to a string, he knew that even if the wind stopped blowing, he would still have a place to return to, so he dared to fly around the sky without any fear. But when the string suddenly broke, he was at a loss. If he had known earlier, he would not have dreamed of being a hero. He should have stayed by Gu Mingming's side obediently. It did not matter if others laughed at him as a useless person, he should have cherished the time he could spend with his mother. But now, it was too late to regret. Kanwa lowered his head and did not make a sound. Victor tried to get closer to Gu Mingming, but was stopped by Oratin. The reason was very simple. Leah whispered into Oratin's ear. Our family only needs one tiger. In other words, if Victor caught Gu Mingming's eye, Oratin's rice bowl would be gone. Snatching a rice bowl from a foodie, you are really courageous. While Oratin and Victor were having an in-depth discussion, Elvis had already carried Gu Mingming back to their previous cave. Placing Gu Mingming at the entrance of the cave, Gu Mingming held Elvis's hand on her left and Lee's hand on her right as they entered the cave. Everything here was the most familiar. When she first came here, she was like a blind person. She could only move a little near the entrance of the cave, and could not see anything else after entering. On the right side of the cave was the cloakroom that Elvis had dug for her after she came, because she said that it would be too wasteful to throw away such a good fur coat after wearing it once, so all the clothes here were her old ones. They were made of different materials and styles, all neatly arranged. It was obvious that someone had taken care of them meticulously. Because of Cole, Gu Mingming had not returned to Saint Nazaire for 2 years, so who was the one taking care of this cave for her? Gu Mingming looked back and her gaze landed on Barit, who was standing at the entrance of the cave. Barit frowned and chuckled. Am I not the messenger's guardian? The messenger is not around, so I have to take good care of her things. Gu Mingming returned an apologetic gaze and chuckled. Barit, these few years it's been hard on you. It's what I should do. Who asked me to owe you? Barit's gaze was filled with melancholy. There was an indescribable bitterness, but also an indescribable pleasure. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, No, Barit, you don't owe me anything. Oakley's incident was planned by Cole, and it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself for it, and you don't have to repay any debt because of it. Barit lowered his head and avoided Gu Mingming's gaze. His lips were pressed into a straight line. Unable to say the words, I just need a reason to protect you. Gu Mingming patted Barit's shoulder and said, I'm leaving, you should let it go too. The 16 valued females in Saint Nazaire are the first beauties of each tribe. I have someone I like. Barit still did not look at Gu Mingming, his eyes staring straight at the ground. Chapter 16:13. Barit did not look up the entire time. He opened his mouth, but the words that had been swirling in his chest were eventually crushed and reshaped between his teeth. In the end, it became an unrecognizable Barit. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief at the fact that she had a sweetheart. She had already harmed Snake and delayed Gregory. If she dragged Barit into this, she was afraid that she would not be able to sort out this list of emotions even if she used 1,000 years. But she did not realize that Barit's gaze, which had been staring at the ground the entire time, was looking at her shadow. After she turned around, Barit then looked up. The deep affection in his eyes was as deep as the ocean, with turbulent undercurrents. I did not lose you, because I never got you. So to me, losing is an extravagant term. But it's alright, as long as you can be happy. I don't care about anything else. If you want to fly, then fly. I'll stay where I am and guard your things for you. No matter when you're tired and want to rest, everything here will be the same as when you left. You'll always have a familiar home, a familiar Barit, waiting for you at the same spot. That night, Gu Mengmeng gathered the 16 valued females for a bonfire party. They talked about all the interesting things that happened in Saint Nazaire in the past 2 years when Gu Mengmeng was not around. When Gu Mengmeng heard the 16 valued females praising Barit, her heart calmed down even more. Matters between women were never easy to resolve. But Barit was unanimously praised by the 16 valued females. Everyone said that he was a warm man who treated everyone especially well. Gu Mengmeng jokingly said that Barit was like the central air conditioner of Saint Nazaire, but Barit just smiled without saying a word. He was nice to the 16 valued females only because they were chosen by Gu Mengmeng. And every time he mentioned the 16 valued females, Gu Mengmeng would always have a proud look on her face. How was he warm to the 16 valued females? He was just guarding the things that she was proud of. It was no different from guarding the old clothes in that cave. Gu Mengmeng stayed in Saint Nazaire for a full 2 months, walking through every inch of the land. It was the salt lake where Elvis had first met her. She had molested Elvis here, and tried to kill herself here. She had made a ruckus there for a long time. The platform of the deity's punishment when she first met Leah. At that time, she had even called Leah Beauty and Leah Daddy. She had also saved Barit, who was on the brink of death there, and even fought with Nina there. Because of a nosebleed, Sandy had caused such a ruckus that she thought she was going to die. And the territory where she had dug potatoes and sweet potatoes. She had visited every place once with Elvis and Leah, recalling the scenes that they had experienced over the years. Everything that she had felt tragic back then had become sweet now. 2 months later, Gu Mengmeng had planned to make a trip to the Mecca desert before winter arrived and settle down the heart of the desert. Then, she could die without any worries. But before she walked out of Saint Nazaire, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. Gu Mengmeng clutched her stomach and her face instantly turned pale. Large beads of sweat started dripping down her face, and she was in so much pain that she could hardly breathe. Chapter 16:14. So when Gu Mengmeng furrowed her brows, he immediately knew what was going on. Elvis' original form. Elvis panicked and his mind went blank, completely unable to think. He could only rely on their years of tacit understanding to reveal his original form, without saying a word when he heard Lee's words. Leah placed Gu Mengmeng on Elvis's back and did not rush Elvis to return to the cave. Instead he said, "Stand firmly and don't tremble. Once Gu Mengmeng's first labor pain is over, carry her back to the cave immediately." Elvis did not even dare to nod, and only blinked his eyes to show that he understood. He did not forget the pain of childbirth that the beast deity, oh no, Wang Xiaoxin, made him experience in the illusion realm. Whenever he thought of that pain tormenting Gu Mengmeng, Elvis felt as if his heart was being stabbed by knives. If it was possible, he was willing to bear the pain of childbirth 10 times in exchange for Gu Mengmeng's current suffering. But unfortunately, this was the only thing in this world that he could not do for her. Other than feeling heartache, there was nothing else he could do. I'm fine. Gu Mengmeng obviously knew what kind of torture her pain was to Elvis and Leah. She tried her best to smile. Even though her hair was instantly drenched in sweat and stuck to her face, she still tried her best to smile. She was afraid that these two fellows would go crazy and say something crazy like they were going to crush the child. Every time she gave birth, she had to fight her husband with all her might. This feeling was really terrible. Don't talk, conserve your energy and stabilize your breathing. Leah frowned. He was really very conflicted about Gu Mengmeng's stomach. This was the child he had been looking forward to for 5 years. Even though it was not born yet, it was still a piece of his heart. But this piece of his heart was tormenting Gu Mengmeng so much. He could not deny that he had the urge to personally cut it off. Gu Mengmeng nodded and did as she was told. She adjusted her breathing according to the frequency of Li's raising and lowering hands. The pain gradually lessened and Gu Mengmeng finally revealed a big smile. She said, "It's all right, I can bear it. It's not that painful." Before Gu Mengmeng finished her sentence, Elvis had already shot out like an arrow. Before Gu Mengmeng could scream, Elvis had already placed her on the beast skin bed in the cave. Gu Mengmeng did not know if she should say it out loud. Bringing a pregnant woman. No, bringing a pregnant woman to ride a roller coaster was inhumane. Inhumane. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not look well, Elvis was extremely worried. He held Gu Mengmeng's hand with concern and asked, "What's wrong? Does it hurt again?" "Huh." Gu Mengmeng snorted and turned her head away, not wanting to talk to this idiotic husky. Once Leah entered the house, he immediately asked Elvis to start a fire, while he quickly cooked all the food in the house, in preparation to replenish Gu Mengmeng's energy at any time. Oriton received Li's orders and brought the males of Saint Nazaire out to hunt. Even though the males of Saint Nazaire would always be out hunting at this time of the year, and the surrounding tribes were already used to it, but this time, the two messengers had left their caves and the males were in a killing frenzy. No matter how big or small they were, they would not let anything go. Even the ferocious beasts that they would never touch during their hunts in the past were now ready to risk their lives and pounce on them, biting them to death and dragging them back to Saint Nazaire. Chapter 16:15. This caused the surrounding tribes to be in a state of panic. Could it be that Saint Nazaire was stocking up on food in preparation for a war with someone? But wasn't Cole already dead? Could it be that another great demon king had appeared? The surrounding tribes tried to send people to Saint Nazaire to investigate, but the wild wolves and foxes surrounded Saint Nazaire so tightly that not even a fly could pass through, not to mention the orcs. Originally, the orcs did not care about wild beasts, but, firstly, there were too many of them, and secondly, these two types of wild beasts were obviously under the orders of the two beast kings. If they fought with them, it would be equivalent to directly challenging the beast kings. Haha, looking at the ferocious Saint Nazaire tribesmen pouncing on their prey today. Which tribe could withstand such a powerful attack? Even now, the two beast kings and the great messenger had yet to appear. Hence, the crowd could only return to their own tribes resentfully, and started to actively set up defenses, but did not dare to snatch prey from the Saint Nazaire tribesmen at this time. Actually, there was no need for such a crazy hunt. The main reason was that there was a little loophole in the transmission. Leah told Oriton, "Prepare food to replenish Mengmeng's energy, so that she won't be exhausted halfway through giving birth." "What will happen if she is exhausted?" Oriton asked. Leah said faintly, "2 lives in 1 body." Of course, Leah would not allow such a thing. By then, even if Gu Mengmeng would fight him to the death, he would definitely kill this daughter with his own hands to protect her. But Oriton did not know what Leah was thinking. He was a fool. 2 lives in 1 body. How could that be? Hence, he hurried out to make arrangements. His originally expressionless face now furrowed his brows, and with a heavy tone he told everyone, "The great messenger needs food, or else she will die." Hence Saint Nazaire exploded. The great messenger will die, because of a lack of food. How could that be? Barit did not believe it at first, and wanted to see what was going on. But just as he reached the entrance of the cave, he smelled a strong scent of blood. He recognized this scent. It was Gu Mengmeng's blood. Previously, when she was plucking potatoes, she cut her hand and he was there too, so he recognized the scent of her blood. Barit's mind jolted as he turned around and ran without a second word, taking the lead in hunting for Gu Mengmeng. This attitude greatly agitated the males who were already agitated to begin with. Damn it, if they let the messenger of the beast deity die in their own tribe because of a lack of food, as males, they would not have the face to live anymore. Not to mention that taking care of females was the natural duty of males. Taking care of the messenger of the beast deity was the duty of everyone in the beast world. Just Gu Mengmeng alone, who in the entire Saint Nazaire had not received her grace. Which one of them had not benefited from her before? It was all thanks to Gu Mengmeng that the females in their families could comfortably survive the 2 seasons of winter and drought. Even if Gu Mengmeng was not the messenger of the beast deity, They would never let her die from a lack of food just because she was a person. And this kind of agitation would affect each other, just like adding firewood to a burning fire continuously. It would be strange if the fire did not burn even more. Gu Mengmeng was tormented by the labor pains in the cave. Without the tear of the beast deity, her hearing was not as good as before, so she did not know that there were rumors outside that she was about to starve to death, and needed all the food in the beast world to survive. If she had heard it, she would probably be so angry that she would fart her child out. Aside from the topic, this was the last time Susu told everyone about Heaven's vision in the beast world. Chapter 16:16. Leah made use of the time when Gu Mengmeng was not in pain to start a second fire to boil water. At this moment, an uninvited guest appeared. It was a familiar face, Joshua, the current witch doctor of Saint Nazir, the first-level ape who had wooed Gu Mengmeng before. He was already a first-level orc when he wooed Gu Mengmeng. 2 years had passed and he was still a first-level orc. Let me do it. Joshua took the firewood from Lee's hands and threw it into the fire. You. Leah was stunned for a moment but still nodded. After all, it was normal for a witch doctor to guard the door when a female was giving birth. Even Leah had guarded the entrance of the cave when Nina was giving birth. It was just that Nina was the one laying the eggs back then, so it didn't take much effort for her to lay them. Although she smashed all the eggs in the nest and none of them survived, the rule of a witch doctor guarding the door of a female giving birth really existed. Moreover, the bellies of the 16 valued females in Saint Nazir had been unusually neat for the past 2 years. Every year, a few of them would get pregnant and give birth. As a result, Joshua, the newly appointed witch doctor, had more experience in delivering babies than Leah. So, since Joshua was the witch doctor of Saint Nazir now, he should naturally be the one guarding the door. Moreover, there were not many males in the family and they did not have enough manpower. Although Joshua was not strong in battle, his medical skills were not bad. Moreover, Leah had mostly learned theoretical knowledge in the illusion realm, and it was all theoretical knowledge. It was his first time going into battle personally. Leaving someone with actual combat experience at the door would at least be of help. Moreover, that idiot Oriton had already brought everyone to hunt. Now he could not even catch one to stay back to help. Looking at the mountain of animal carcasses in front of his house, Leah really wanted to pinch Oriton to death. But rather than letting this idiot stay in the cave to create trouble, it was better to let him go out and go crazy. Anyway, winter was coming and these prey would not go to waste. After Gu Mengmeng gave birth, he would arrange for these prey to be distributed to the 16 valued females to tide over the winter. Anyway, as long as that glutton Oriton did not come back at this time to create trouble and harm Gu Mengmeng, Leah did not care about anything else. With Joshua in charge of boiling pots of water at the entrance, Leah had the time to accompany Gu Mengmeng in the cave. Her labor pains were getting more intense. Based on the childbirth knowledge he learned in the illusion realm, Leah knew that it was not long before Gu Mengmeng gave birth. Gu Mengmeng, who had experienced childbirth once, knew that her precious daughter could not wait to see her. Gu Mengmeng knew that her baby daughter could not wait to see her. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had never thought that foxes were so much bigger than wolves. Why did it feel even more painful than when Kanwu was born? The labor pain came again, and Gu Mengmeng screamed her lungs out. She gripped the beast's skin beneath her with all her might and clenched her teeth, concentrating all her strength on her abdomen to push the child downwards. Elvis hugged her head, just like what Leah did when she gave birth to Hutta and his brothers. His blue eyes were filled with heartache, as if a blunt knife was constantly cutting his heart. Elvis brought his hand to Gu Mengmeng's mouth and said, "Bite me if it hurts." He remembered that Gu Mengmeng had taught Colin this when Sandy was giving birth. Chapter 16:17. This was clearly not a fox's head, but a baby's head. Gu Mengmeng screamed in pain. As she exerted force, the baby's little face was already exposed. Leah wanted to lick the placenta, but, it was not a fox and did not have a placenta. How could he lick it? His tongue was already out, but he froze on the spot, not knowing what to do. Elvis glared at Leah and said, What time is it now? Why are you still in a daze? Leah did not know how to describe his feelings at that moment. He had been through many storms, but now he was at a loss of what to do. He had all the theoretical knowledge, but he was not mentally prepared. For the past 10 months, he had always thought that he would be delivering a little fox, but this little fox was quite different from what he imagined. Gu Mengmeng exerted force again, and the baby slipped out. Leah was shocked and hurriedly caught his little princess. His eyes brimmed with tears as he looked at Gu Mengmeng, who was gasping for air like a fish out of water. He choked with sobs and said, "Mengmeng, it's been hard on you, thank you. I love you." "Don't talk nonsense," Gu Mengmeng said weakly. "Bite off the umbilical cord, tie a knot, then carry her for me to see." Yeah. Leah did as he was told, using warm water to wash the child clean before wrapping her up in a soft beast skin and placing her beside Gu Mengmeng. He kissed her face and said, "This is the first time I've seen a newborn that is a complete female, and this most special child is our daughter." Leah nodded and said. Gu Mengmeng smiled as she looked at the little red person in her arms. Her motherly instincts were radiating. Gu Mengmeng kissed her precious daughter, then looked at Leah and asked, "Aren't you going to kiss her?" Leah shook his head and said, "Other than you, I won't kiss anyone else." Gu Mengmeng chided, "Pretentious." But she did not say anything else. Elvis saw that Gu Mengmeng's delivery was rather smooth, and heaved a long sigh of relief. He handed the baby over to Leah, then laid Gu Mengmeng down properly. As they tidied up the messy room, they said, "Maybe now is the best chance." Leah was taken aback. He looked at the newborn baby girl in his arms, feeling extremely reluctant. Before they met, he could ruthlessly say that he wanted to kill her to protect Gu Mengmeng. But after witnessing her birth with his own eyes, Leah felt that he now had two hearts, one for Gu Mengmeng and the other for the little princess. No matter which one he cut out, it would still hurt. But Elvis was right. Thanks to Oratin, the entire beast world now knew that Gu Mengmeng's life was in danger. This was the best opportunity. After all, even acting couldn't be that realistic. Turning back to look at Gu Mengmeng, who had fallen into a deep sleep on the bed, then at the soft little child in his arms, Leah hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. "Kamwu happens to be here. Let him take care of this little sister." Lee's gaze was fixated on his youngest daughter's face. She had her eyes shut and was sleeping soundly like her mother, completely unaware that she had to be separated from her daughter the moment she was born. Every word that Leah said was like a sharp needle that pierced his heart. This child was equally precious to Elvis. As long as it was Gu Mengmeng's child, it would be his treasure. How could he bear to part with this little baby? Chapter 16-18. Leah thought for a moment and nodded. "Then let's discuss it with Gu Meng when she wakes up." Elvis didn't say anything else and just continued to pack up the things in the room. Giving birth consumed a large amount of Gu Mengmeng's energy. Without the protection of the tear of the beast deity, Gu Mengmeng's body was extremely weak. After sleeping for a full day and night, Gu Mengmeng slowly opened her eyes. And this one day and one night was known as unconsciousness in the beast world. Elvis and Leah discussed their plan with Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng couldn't bear to part with her newborn daughter, but she also knew that this was the best opportunity. If she didn't make use of it, it would be extremely difficult for her to escape in the future. So the next day, Gu Mengmeng sat at the entrance of the cave with Elvis carrying her while her face was pale and weak. Strangely, there was no wind within a kilometer radius around Gu Mengmeng. Obviously, this was Gregory's protection. Gu Mengmeng called Kamwu over and handed her daughter to him. She instructed him to bring her to the Snake King Valley and hand her over to Qixuan. Kamwu looked at his mother's weak state, and his eyes turned red. He clenched his teeth and couldn't say a word. In the end, he just nodded his head cautiously. Gu Mengmeng's heart was filled with guilt. She made up her mind to explain everything to her son after the act. A mother faking her own death to deceive her son. Haha, there shouldn't be a mother more mischievous than her in this world. But she had no choice now. The more sorrowful Kamwu acted, the more real the news of Gu Mengmeng's death would be. Anyway, it was difficult for females to give birth. Many females had died giving birth to females, so the credibility was not low in the first place. Coupled with Oratin's hard work, no one would suspect that Gu Mingming had a difficult birth. In front of everyone, Gu Mingming's hands dropped and she acted out the beauty fades. It was a beautiful death. Elvis and Leah released their Beast King aura at the same time and pretended to lose control. They did not do it for any other reason than to prevent others from coming forward to cry. As long as they neared, they would realize that Gu Mingming's tightly shut eyelids were trembling and her eyeballs were rolling nonstop. Then, all their efforts would be wasted. After pressing everyone onto the ground, Gu Mingming hurriedly carried her little daughter in her arms, while Elvis carried Kanwu and Oratin on his shoulders. Leah carried Gu Mingming and her mother, and quietly left the tribe that the two of them had created. Gu Mingming stood at the entrance of Saint Nazaire, and could not help but look back. This was the hard work of Elvis and Leah, and also the tribe that she had been working hard to protect for the past 5 years. This place contained too many memories between them. There were joys and sorrows. Those small matters that did not matter in the past had now become precious memories. It was as if they weighed 1,000 pounds, causing Gu Mingming to be unable to move her feet. "What's wrong?" Elvis sensed the sadness on her face and asked with heartache. Gu Mingming looked up and met Elvis's blue eyes. Her voice was a little choked up as she said, "Hubby, are we going to have no home from today onwards?" In these 5 years, Gu Mingming had stayed in many places, be it the cave at the Snake King Valley or Sauter's Stone Castle. But only this cave at Saint Nazaire could be called home by her. Chapter 16-19. But it was different this time. She was really going to leave. A person who was already dead probably wouldn't be able to come back. Elvis rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. He was already used to her melancholy. He kissed her face and said gently, "Wherever you are, that's where our home is. Don't be sad, Leah and I will always accompany you." Gu Mingming was taken aback for a moment. Then she smiled and nodded. Yeah, the cave was not her home. Only being with Elvis and Leah was the feeling of home. If not for the two of them, what was the point of her guarding the cave? Although those memories of the past were precious, they would not disappear just because she left Saint Nazaire. It was just that without those traces of remembrance around her, she might slowly forget many things. But so what? As long as the two of them were still by her side, they would have even more precious memories, right? With that thought, Gu Mingming's mood became much better. She hugged Elvis's neck and kissed his face saying, "Yeah, you're right." Passing by the lake where she first met Elvis, Gu Mingming suddenly laughed. "Huh?" Elvis asked her with a single syllable, asking her what she was laughing at. Gu Mingming said, "I feel that you guys are right to call me a little liar. I seem to have been lying since the first day I came to the beast world." Elvis frowned and asked, "What did you lie to me that day?" Gu Mingming sniffled and smiled. "I said that I would not take responsibility. But look at me now." Gu Mingming tugged at her collar and said, "Not only did I get a partner, I even gave birth to a son for you." What happened to the prodigal image of only flirting and not taking responsibility? Sigh. I didn't know that I had such a talent for lying. Elvis also smiled and pinched her little face saying, "In this lifetime, I only ask you to keep one promise. As for the rest, I don't mind. Moreover, you lied especially well when you said, not taking responsibility." Of course, Gu Mingming knew that Elvis and Leah wanted her to keep her promise. As long as she said not abandoning them, as long as she did not go back on her word, no matter what she did, they would forgive her. Wang Xiaoxin said beast deity doesn't lie. This is the biggest lie. I think it makes a lot of sense. If you want to be an honest beast deity in the future, you should start from never saying I don't lie. Gu Mingming giggled. Elvis kissed her little face and said, "All right." With the wild fox and wolves leading the way, Gu Mingming said, Saint Nazaire's death. Gu Mingming's death. Saint Nazaire had attracted the attention of most people, making it easier for Gu Mingming and the rest to move around. When they returned to the Snake King Valley, Qixian had already prepared a large amount of food in Snake's Cave. When he saw Gu Mingming, he smiled knowingly and said, "I knew that you would come back before winter, so I have already prepared the food." You can stay here in peace. I will guard the entrance, and I guarantee that no one will disturb you during the winter. Gu Mingming shook her head and handed the little girl in her arms to Qixuan. We are here to let you take care of her. I to say, to. Chapter 16:20. Her name is Danya. Gu Mingming replied. Qixuan carried Danya while smiling and playing with her little chin. He called out softly, Little Danya, I am your second brother. Come, call me second brother, alright? It would be a miracle if a newborn could speak. But although little Danya could not speak, she knew how to smile. She grinned, revealing her pink gums. Her eyes narrowed into 2 crescent moons, and there were 2 adorable save-me's on her chubby little face. Her smile melted Qixuan's heart. Younger sister was a magical thing. She had trained the young master of the stray beasts, who was full of hostility, into a domestic dog. Many years later, when little Danya came of age, the ones guarding the tower for her would not be her first partner or suitor, but her 4 brothers at the 4 corners of the tower. As a result, little Danya, who had a sister complex, could not successfully date anyone after she came of age. All her suitors were chased away by her 4 brothers. Her 4 brothers even said righteously, Our younger sister must not mate with a male who is inferior to us. Only the heavens knew that her 4 brothers were the most famous males in the beast world. Her eldest brother had an extraordinary aura, as if he was the ruler of the world. Third brother's intelligence was unparalleled. He could control the curtains and determine victory from 1,000 miles away. Many enemies had not even seen his face and were already trapped in a prison, unable to move an inch. Fourth brother was extraordinarily brave and fierce, like a war god descending into the abyss. Just one look at his pair of vicious eyes would make one shudder and retreat without a fight. Not to mention the second brother. He was unusually handsome, but full of demonic aura. He never acted according to the rules and killed according to his whims. Most importantly, he was just a 3rd-level orc, but had the ability to make 5th-level orcs tremble in fear. No one had ever dared to be impudent in front of him, and no one dared to test his unfathomable abilities. He was the master of the stray beasts who made everyone tremble in fear. He looked down on the world and no one dared to go against him. It was these 4 devils who acted cute and silly in front of little Danya. As long as they could make their younger sister smile, they would not hesitate to wag their tails and beg for pity. As a result, little Danya became the envy of all the females in the beast world. It was not because her mother was the messenger of the beast deity, nor was it because her father was the beast king. It was because she had 4 good brothers who doted on her to the bone and spoiled her to the heavens. Of course, this was a story for the future, so let's not talk about it for now. He only said that after Gu Mingming handed Danya to Qixuan and Camwood to take care of, she brought Elvis, Leah and Oriton to the Mecca Desert before winter arrived. This was currently the safest place, and it was also the last stop for the 7 treasures. Because no one would set foot in this demonic territory that lacked food and water. Elvis used the beast skin to cover Gu Mingming as the sand danced in the air. Because Wang Xiaoxin had left and Gu Mingming had inherited the position of beast deity, many erased memories had returned to her mind. For example, Puramitha and Fedatin City. Spring has passed, the hair has turned white, the thoughts are lonely, and a strand of sorrow is cut off to cover the eyes to blind people. Today I'm heartbroken. Today we're on different sides. There's no hope for us to meet again in this life. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and walked in the desert. Gu Mingming leaned on Elvis's shoulder and sang softly. They stood outside the once forgotten Fedatin city again. Half of the broken walls had been buried by the sand, but in the center of the city, a faint red light emitted a charming temptation. Aside from the topic, why was Qixuan so strong? Did everyone still remember the leaf that floated into his head? Chapter 16:21. Gu Mingming followed the light, and indeed saw the blossoming red spider lily. Gu Mingming reached out to pluck it, and the flower fell into her palm with a slight twist. This was Snake's heart. Do you still want to build a dragon gate in here to sell human meat bun? Elvis looked at the bewitching red flower and frowned with a bitter smile. He would never be able to win Snake in this lifetime, right? Back in the Snake King Valley, Snake once said that he was so weak. He thought that he would be able to turn the tables after becoming a Beast King, but in the end, he was saved a second time. 1,000 years later, when Snake returned, would he still be able to keep his position as the first partner? He smiled helplessly. 1,000 years later, there should be a battle. But if two Beast Kings fought, it would be hard to determine the winner. Gu Mingming did not know that Elvis's thoughts had already drifted to 1,000 years later. She just smiled and nodded, saying, "Yes, I want to build a dragon gate in here. I don't sell human meat bun. I just want to wait for someone who has not returned." "All right," Elvis replied with a simple word, then kissed Gu Mingming's cheek, saying, "Leah and I will help you look for the green stone. We will stay here until the dragon gate is built. How about that?" Gu Mingming nodded and agreed with a smile. Leah and Elvis had both gone out to search for green stones, while Gu Mingming sat on the broken wall, swinging her feet and humming Sorrow of Separation. Looking at the desolate desert, she felt like a hero going on a wild trip outside the Great Wall. Oriton glanced sideways at the heart of the desert in Gu Mingming's hands. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "I will guard this for you." "You?" Gu Mingming tilted her head and looked at Oriton. Oriton nodded and said, "Leah told me before that I am the most suitable person to guard it. That's why Leah brought me along." Gu Mingming looked at Oriton in confusion. Oriton habitually put on a poker face, but his gaze was exceptionally sincere. He said, "I was born in the Mecca Desert and am the only orc that is suitable to live here. If I am not here to guard it, then no one can do this for you. After all, I'm also your guardian beast. It's only right for me to guard something for you. Besides, it was good for me. I didn't have to mate to break through level 3, and I might even reach demigod level like Higgin. An immortal body, how tempting was that?" And Leah said that as long as I am willing to help you guard the heart of the desert, he will let Qixuan arrange for stray beasts to deliver food to me. After saying so much, the last sentence should be the main point. Gu Mingming did not know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at Oriton and said, "Have you thought it through? It's very lonely to live here alone." Oriton let out a cold laugh from his throat, but his expression did not change at all as he said, "Before I met you, not only was I alone, but I was also pushed out wherever I went. Later, when I became stronger, I started to be harassed endlessly. To me, it was a wonderful thing to be alone and not be disturbed. Besides, I don't want to lose any more friends." Chapter 16:22. Oriton seemed to know what Gu Mingming was thinking about. He patted her shoulder and said, "How do you know that the person who comes 1,000 years later will not fall in love with me? Who knows? I might be the next snake, meeting a special person 1,000 years later, giving color and meaning to my life. The next snake. Ha, wouldn't his heart be ripped out?" Furthermore, Gu Mingming looked down at the red spider lily in her hands. Not only would his heart be ripped out, he would also end up in a messy state and sleep for 1,000 years. Becoming the next snake was really not a happy ending. Moreover, although Snake did not know how to express himself, he unexpectedly fit the image of a domineering CEO in the modern world. The chances of little girls liking him was much higher than Oriton, who only had food in his eyes. He had a body full of fur, but he did not know how to make use of his advantages like Leah. Gu Mingming did not even dare to think about Oriton acting cute. In the beast world, where the ratio of males and females was so disparate, did Oriton really have a way to fight against the other males and stand out from the crowd to win the favor of the next messenger of the beast deity? What if the next messenger of the beast deity did not like his dull character? Or, what if the next messenger of the beast deity did not know how to cook? By then, even if the other party grew a flower, Oriton would not be willing to mate with her, right? What did he say previously? Oh right, he said, "I am not interested in females, I am only interested in food." Gu Mingming really felt that the chances of Oriton successfully breaking free from being single after 1,000 years was extremely slim. Oriton looked at Gu Mingming's changing expression and did not know what she was thinking about. He could only continue to persuade her. "I am not as good with words as Leah, but I know that it is the most suitable arrangement for me to guard this flower." As Oriton said that, he knelt down on one knee with his palms facing upwards. Elvis told Gu Mengmeng that this was an expression of submission from the orcs. Oriton had never treated Gu Mengmeng like this before. He had really thought it through and was willing to guard this flower and spend a long 1,000 years in the Mecca desert. Gu Mengmeng sighed in exasperation. She could only think that although she did not have a son like Snake, she would probably have to drag the next messenger of the beast deity to watch a few television dramas with her in order to plan for Oriton. However, Overbearing Senior Falls in Love with Me was, after all, a youth romance movie. In the future, Oriton would be starring in a culinary show like A Bite of China? Gu Mengmeng expressed her worries and felt immense pressure. Looking at Oriton kneeling by her feet, looking as if he would not get up until she agreed, Gu Mengmeng finally sighed and gave in. "Oriton, thank you." Gu Mengmeng handed the red spider lily to Oriton. Oriton placed the red spider lily into his chest right in front of Gu Mengmeng. Then he smiled for the first time in his life. "You don't have to thank me. You just have to urge Leah to fulfill his promise and send me food." Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment before replying. "Oriton, do you know? You look very good when you smile." Oriton was stunned by Gu Mengmeng's words. He touched the corner of his lips and said, "Looks like I have made the right choice to guard this flower." Chapter 16:23. Gu Mengmeng tore off a piece of beast skin, wrote the word wine on it and hung it on the door. She then got Elvis to use his sharp claws to carve a couplet on the green stones on both sides of the door. The first couplet was chasing after the wind and the moon is the order of the king, while the second couplet was morning clouds, evening rain, horse legs, people's hearts. This couplet was written on the door in Maggie Chung's version of Dragon Gate Inn. Gu Mengmeng felt that that version was the most classic version, and did not accept any rebuttals. She taught the words on the couplet to Oriton and told him that if the person who came 1,000 years later could recite this couplet, it would prove that he was the one she found. After all, she did not dare to be as unreliable as Wang Xiaoxin and use TikTok videos as a secret signal. What if the person she chose did not use TikTok? Was she going to demonstrate it personally as the beast deity? The beast deity version of kelp dance, or learn to meow? Haha, the beast deity didn't care about his reputation. When the wine flag fluttered in the wind, Gu Mengmeng finally waved her hand and said goodbye to Oriton. She no longer had to travel a long distance. She just smiled and stared at Oriton, then slowly disappeared into the heat of the desert, like an evaporated mirage. Gu Mengmeng brought Elvis and Leah back to the illusion realm, and officially took over the role of the beast deity. She was in charge of marriage in the beast world, and just like the aunties in the neighborhood committee, she helped all the wronged wives and husbands in the area under her jurisdiction. She was also biased towards the females without any principles. In that illusion realm, there was a boundless grassland, layers of mountains and flowing streams. There were no 4 seasons and every day was as warm as spring with beautiful weather. She would sneak back to the beast world during winter every year and return to Snake's Cave. Her son and daughter would also come back to spend the winter with her. The red coral bracelet that she had prepared for Sandy was also given to Hutta to bring back to Sauter for Sandy. Hutta said that when Sandy received the bracelet, she bawled her eyes out and no one could stop her. Colin and Bode could only frown in heartache, but could not say anything to comfort her. In the end, they just patted Sandy's back and sighed silently. As for Sandy, even when she fell asleep, there were still tears in the corners of her eyes. But not long after, she smiled. The next day, Sandy told Colin that she dreamed that she had returned to Saint Nazir, and saw Gu Mengmeng roasting meat at the platform of the deity's punishment. It smelled so good that she really wanted to eat it, so she went forward. After that, Gu Mengmeng sat at the side of the platform of the deity's punishment, smiled and extended her hand towards her saying, "Hello, I'm Gu Mengmeng." She said that Gu Mengmeng was so warm at that time. If she was given a pair of wings, she could compete with the sun. Every year after that, Gu Mengmeng would let the children bring something for Sandy, and listen to what had happened to Sandy in that year. However, to the children, it had been a year since they last saw their mother, But to Gu Mengmeng, she would only accompany the children for dinner every night in the beast world. Yes, one day in the illusion was 1 year in the beast world. The so-called 1,000 years of waiting was actually just 1,000 days. This day, Gu Mengmeng revealed a long-lost smile. Elvis hugged her from behind and asked softly, "What's the good news? Why are you smiling so happily?" Gu Mengmeng waved her hand, and a screen appeared in front of her. There was a girl's face on it, crying and laughing at times. Aside from the topic, recommending Susu's new article, Warm Love on the Pillow. Don't stop taking CEO's medicine. A petite little cutie vs a proud and protective CEO. 1v1 sweet pet plus torture plus 3 none. No first love, no ex, no mistress. When they first met at the age of 7, Xia Xiangxi's innocent look instantly captured Lu Jincheng's heart. The young master of the Lu family did not know what it meant to like someone. But he knew that he would never let Xia Xiangxi suffer any grievances in this lifetime. He had to protect this furry and soft little sister for the rest of his life. In a kidnapping at the age of 10, he lost Xia Xiangxi and half his life. For the past 12 years, he had been looking for her every single day. But when he met her again, she had already forgotten about him. Chapter 1624. She is. Leah also came over and looked at this unfamiliar face in confusion. Gu Mengmeng answered mysteriously, "The next messenger of the beast deity." Elvis and Leah looked at each other, then at Gu Mengmeng asking, "Why did you choose her?" Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and said, "I wrote our experiences in the beast world into a novel and published it on the modern web. She is the most loyal reader of this novel. I am not as scheming as Wang Xiaoxin, so I can't come up with too many plans, so I can only use the most direct method to choose the next messenger of the beast deity." Gu Mengmeng smiled at the girl through the screen and said, "If it's her, she will definitely be able to do better than me. At least she won't be as helpless as when I first came to the beast world, doing so many stupid things and taking so many detours." Elvis chuckled and asked, "So you have been sitting there without moving for this period of time, writing this?" Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "From the start of the serialization to the end of the publication, it took a total of 237 days. The day it ended was exactly the 1,000th day since Snake left me." Leah swayed his tail and asked with a smile, "Are you sure that this weak-looking girl can really help you gather the 7 treasures?" Gu Mengmeng nodded seriously and said, "I believe that if it's her, she will definitely be able to do it. Moreover, don't we still have to help her?" Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead and said, "I will always listen to Xiao Meng. Whatever you say, it will be." Gu Mengmeng nodded and then said to the girl through the screen, "Hi, my messenger of the beast deity. When you come to the beast world, don't panic. The orcs here are mostly simple and kind. They will not hurt you. Snake and Grace are really important to me, so please help me bring them back. If you need a capable assistant, I recommend Oriton in the Mecha Desert. It doesn't matter if you forget the words on the couplet. I think you can just roast some meat or stir-fry some dishes to take him down. The one guarding the entrance of the Snake King Valley is my son Qi Xian. When he was young, he suffered a lot, but it was also because of this that he obtained an opportunity. The kiss of the ocean and the soul of the forest both remain in his body, and he is the only one of my 4 sons who is still alive. If you are stopped by him at the entrance of the Snake King Valley, I suggest that you shout, 'Mother is the best in this world' 3 times. This is the secret signal that I have agreed upon with him. As long as you shout this, he will know that you are my man and won't make things difficult for you. The love of the sky is being guarded by the vulture race. Let me tell you a secret. The current vulture emissary is also a very handsome and abstinent Prince Charming. Every year during the dry season in Moda Mountains, there would be half a day when the wind would stop blowing. At that time, he would go down the mountain to patrol. You just had to stand by the stream and sing, 'Just happened to meet you,' and he would bring you up the Moda Mountains. Because that song is the engagement song between me, the previous messenger of the beast deity, and the guardian god of Mota Mountains. In the beast world, no one knows how to sing it. As for the kiss of the ocean, who knows how many generations of Melinda's descendants are guarding it? The bad news is that the deep sea has not been peaceful these few years and the conflicts between the races are rather chaotic. But the good news is that they have all inherited Melinda's and Carter's beauty and abilities. Each generation is more enchanting than the previous, so beautiful that no words can describe them. Anyway, as a beast deity who already has a partner and does not intend to harm young children, I will not go to the deep sea anymore. I am really afraid that I will not be able to control myself from spoiling other people's little fry. So, I will leave all these handsome men to you, my dear messenger of the beast deity. Just like what Wang Xiaoxin said, my story ends here. Everything in the future is waiting for you to write. I will wait for you in the beast world. See you there. Never leave. Aside from the topic, warm love on the pillow. Don't stop your medicine, Mr. CEO Lu Jincheng. Xia Xiangxi, let me tell you, to be my woman, you must have a pure heart. Xia Xiangxi, speak normally. Lu Jincheng, it's very simple. First, you must know how to find trouble for me to solve, and not let me feel bored. Secondly, you must have a rich material life, and not let the money I earn be left in the bank to grow worms. Thirdly, if there are other women who have ill intentions towards me, you must stop them and protect your man's chastity by hook or by crook. Fourthly, the most important point is that you can only have me in your heart. You are not allowed to like other men. Many years later, Lu Jincheng, I heard it all. You said you love other men. Xia Xiangxi rolled her eyes and asked, is the other man called Lu Nangua? Lu Jincheng, yes. Xia Xiangxi, let me tell you, not only did I say I love him today, I also want to sleep with him tonight. Go sleep in the living room. Chapter 16:25. 7 years. Gu Mengmeng had been the beast deity for a full 7 years. The messenger of the beast deity she chose was better than her in every aspect. She was honest with her feelings and never wavered like Gu Mengmeng. She had mated with 4 males and truly controlled the land, sea and air forces, becoming the first messenger of the beast deity to mate with the sea tribe out of the 3 messengers of the beast deity. But no matter what, she could not escape the heart-wrenching moment when the doors of time and space opened. Gu Mengmeng stood behind her and held her shoulders with both hands. She looked at the open doors of time and space from the side of her ear and said to her, you have watched Wolfman before, I don't need to tell you. If you go through this door now, the television series that you have been watching during this period of time will become your memory. You will live the blissful life that Oriton has created for you in that world, and everything you have experienced in the beast world will gradually disappear like a dream. On the other hand, the girl smiled at Oriton with tears in her eyes and asked, are you afraid? Oriton shook his head gently and firmly and said, for you, I am not afraid of anything. I have already promised to be your hero. Why would I change my mind at the last minute? The girl replied with a thick nasal voice, yeah. She hummed and said, after 1,000 years, I will make crystal pork knuckle, duck neck and soy sauce, bear paw and broth and roasted pig's feet for you. All right. Oriton pulled his lips into a smile and said in a heroic and tragic manner, you promised, I will wait to eat your crystal pork knuckle, duck neck and soy sauce, bear paw and broth and roasted pig's feet. That door slowly closed. Gu Mengmeng's eyes still reddened after seeing such a scene after 1,000 years. Only when Oriton and the door disappeared did the girl suddenly pounce into Gu Mengmeng's arms and burst into tears. She was far from being as strong as she thought she was. Even if she knew that she could meet Oriton again after 1,000 years, her heart still ached when she saw Oriton being torn apart in front of her. The girl's collar was pulled by someone and before she could react, she was flung into the air as though she had lost her balance. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. That little bit of melancholy was completely destroyed by the black face in front of her. Tu Meng, I haven't seen you for 1,000 years. You've grown a lot bolder, huh? You know that I'm coming back today. Yet you want to hug someone else in front of me? The black-faced deity standing in front of Gu Mengmeng was none other than Snake. He was truly aggrieved. After muddling through 1,000 years, he finally saw her again with great difficulty, but what was the result? Not only did she not come up to him to give him a hug and say a few soft words to tell him how much she missed him, she even hugged that dirty female with tears and snot all over her face. Hee, did he really think he was dead? If it was in the past, Gu Mingming might have argued with Snake, but now she did not want to go against him at all. He had suffered enough. She did not want him to suffer any more. Pouncing into Snake's arms, Gu Mingming rubbed her little face against his chest, feeling his ice-cold body temperature. This touch, which used to terrify her, now made her feel blissful. Akuan, welcome back. I missed you so much. Chapter 1626. Tightening his arms, Snake looked at Gu Mingming and did not speak for a long time. He only kissed her deeply on the lips. This was a kiss that had been brewing for 1,000 years. It contained 2 lifetimes of unattainable desires and 2 lifetimes of separation. Finally, he could truly embrace a complete and real her and never let go again. Apart from Snake and Gu Mingming, no one else could understand how lingering this kiss was. Others could only see them hugging and kissing, with smiles on the corners of their lips and sparkles of happiness in their eyes. Any description seemed so pale and shallow in front of this kiss, not even worth mentioning. The kiss that was filled with love and lust lasted for a long time. It was so long that it was enough to express the yearning of 1,000 years. Snake then reluctantly let go of her. The corners of his lips curled up as he smiled. Tumeng, I am back. For the past 1,000 years, he had so many things he wanted to say to her. But when he looked at her, he could not utter a single word. In that dream realm, he learned many sweet nothings, but none of them were enough to express his feelings for Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Snake's waist and nodded. This time you are not allowed to leave me again. All right. Snake lowered his head and planted a kiss on Gu Mingming's forehead. It was a vow. From today onwards, he would only reply to her requests with one word, all right. Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and took out a ring from somewhere. He then firmly put it on the ring finger of Gu Mingming's left hand. Looking at the ring with a diamond on it, Snake's gaze was filled with tenderness. His right hand circled around Gu Mingming's shoulder and opened his palm in front of her. There was a male snake ring with a piece missing. He said, "People say that husband and wife are of one heart, but the heart is not as important as the gallbladder for a snake. So I am giving my gallbladder to you. If you are alive, I will live. If you are dead, I will die." Gu Mingming tiptoed and kissed Snake's lips. It was not romantic and even carried a tinge of punishment. Biting the corner of his lips, she then put down her heel. "Seeing you die twice for me, I am still traumatized by your death. You are not allowed to mention anything about life or death in the future. Otherwise, I will cry for you. Yes, cry for you to see." Tears was Gu Mingming's killer move. Although she rarely used it, it was very powerful and there was not a single male in the family who was not afraid of it. But he was Snake. Frowning, Snake pinched Gu Mingming's little face, squeezing her mouth into a fish's mouth. "Threatening me? If you dare to cry, I'll kill that little wolf." Gu Mingming really wanted to say Elvis is also a beast king now. You probably won't be able to kill him. But she was afraid that if she said that, Snake would really go all out to fight Elvis. Sigh. Domestic violence is not desirable. Question. The men in my family are too hot-tempered. Their strength is at the peak. If they can fight, they will never quarrel. As a weak little woman, I feel a little sad. What should I do? It's urgent, I'm waiting online. Looking up, Gu Mingming's words lingered in her stomach for a few rounds before finally becoming a soft sentence. You're not allowed to bully me. Kamo. Snake's HP bar was empty. It was as if an arrow had pierced through his ribs and pierced right into his chest. Chapter 1627. Gu Mingming knew that it was useless to use force on Snake, so she could only use the soft approach. He would fall for it. Seeing how Snake wanted to save face but could not do anything to her, Gu Mingming's mood soared. She tiptoed and kissed Snake's chin again, before giggling. Snake's face brightened because of Gu Mingming's fawning, so he turned to the side and said, "I brought your guardian beast back too." Gu Mingming's body stiffened and the smile on her face froze instantly. Her big eyes quickly became misty, and she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand before she dared to turn her head to look at the direction Snake was pointing at. "Gregory." Gu Mingming choked and called out his name. Gregory smiled gently and stood on the spot without moving closer. He just looked at Gu Mingming affectionately and said, I promised you that I would come back and I did it. Gu Mingming wanted to hug Gregory, but her waist was still in Snake's hands, and she did not dare to be rash. So she sneaked a glance at Snake. Snake's expression did not look too good, but he did not flare up. He just said coldly, he protected my real body for 1,000 years before I could come back to see you safely. Although it was aggrieved, I still owe him, so I brought him back. But I am warning you. Do not have any thoughts that you should not have. If I find out. Snake did not finish his sentence and just narrowed his eyes, emitting a dangerous aura from his entire body. Before she could explain herself, Gregory beat her to it and said, I'm just a guardian beast, I'm not greedy enough to want more, so you don't have to be so nervous, I can't snatch away your love. Gu Mingming shrunk her neck timidly, and wanted to explain herself. Snake snorted in disdain and said, Snatch away my love? What a big tone you have. But don't worry, I will not allow such a thing to happen. If you had mated with Tumeng before me, or if your mark is closer to her heart than mine, I will definitely let you die 100 times worse than what you did 1,000 years ago. Gu Mingming could not keep up with his pace. She looked at Snake, then at Gregory and then at Snake again in a daze. So what Snake meant by shouldn't have thoughts was to let Gregory take over before him. She thought he would say that all males other than him were wild men, and that she was not allowed to touch them anymore. What are you looking at? Snake looked down at Gu Mingming and asked. Gu Mingming laughed dryly and said, Nothing much. I just feel that your temper is much better than before. Snake hugged Gu Mingming lightly and said, I have wasted 2 lifetimes to exchange for this person. How can I not treasure her? As long as you're doing well, I'm fine. With that, Snake pushed Gu Mingming lightly, sending her into Gregory's arms. Gregory opened his arms wide and stood at the same spot without moving at all. He caught Gu Mingming steadily and hugged her deeply, saying, I don't have the right to snatch you from his arms, so I can only stand here and wait for you. Thank you for coming into my arms. Thank you for not forgetting me. Gu Mingming did not say anything. She just used both hands to gently caress Gregory's arms, pursing her lips and not saying a word. Gregory knew what she was thinking about, so he whispered into her ear. The weather is nice today. Do you want me to fulfill the promise I made to you previously? Gu Mingming looked up at Gregory with anticipation in her eyes. Chapter 1628. Gregory transformed into a half-orc and let Gu Mingming lie on his back. He moved his shoulder blades slightly as a warm-up before spreading his wings and soaring into the sky with Gu Mingming on his back. He had not flown for 1,000 years, but his bird-like nature made him never forget how to soar. Gu Mingming cheered excitedly on Gregory's back. This was not the first time she was being carried by Gregory. She even had a pair of wings for a short period of time, and had flown a few times herself. But this time, it was the most blissful experience she had ever had. A gust of wind blew past her face, making Gu Mingming's eyes dry up. Yes, it was because her eyes were dry that she was tearing up. It was not because she was sentimental. It was not. The grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see was not as majestic as Mota Mountain, but it had a different kind of charm. Snake had transformed into his original form, and was already fighting with Elvis. The battle between the 2 beast kings looked dangerous, but neither of them wanted to kill the other. After all, they could not bear to see the little person flying in the sky shed tears. Leah swayed his large tail, as he sat on the back of the 2-seater chair. He stepped on the armrest lazily and at ease. He would give Snake pointers at one moment, and give Elvis a few reminders at the next. He was the classic type of spectator, who did not mind the matter getting bigger, and was afraid that their fight was not exciting enough. The girl who was originally crying miserably stood at a distance, and looked at the 3 legendary beast kings. Initially, her emotions of wanting to cry were forcefully dispersed by them. She was a little dazed and suddenly felt that she could not differentiate between reality and fantasy. She really? Just because he finished reading a novel, he transmigrated to this world? Initially, she felt her heart ache because Gu Mingming did not value Elvis highly because of Lee's appearance. When Nina's incident happened, She scolded herself for being blind back then, and not realizing that Leah was a scumbag. But while scolding him, she also left a message for the author because her heart ached for that white fox's pitiful appearance. Because of Snake's death, she cried a lot, and when she denounced the author, she felt as though she was grinding her teeth. When Gregory broke his wings and was blinded, her heart was tugged at again. At that time, she really wanted to crawl out from the screen and strangle the author to death. But when she saw the ending, the author asked her for help, saying that Snake was really important to her, and that she had to save him and Gregory. She agreed in a moment of impulse. She did not even think about it herself. At that time she only muttered, "If I could really transmigrate to the beast world, I would definitely save Snake and Gregory." Then he actually transmigrated. This was not in line with the core values of socialism, and it happened to him just like that. Looking at the snake and wolf fighting, the white fox who was watching the commotion and stirring up trouble, and Gregory who was flying in the sky, the girl wiped away the tears on her face, raised her head and shouted, "Susu, I'm going back first. My man is still waiting for me." The girl on Gregory's back peeked out her little head and waved at her through Gregory's shoulder. "That novel ended 7 years ago, and you're still calling me Susu?" The girl smiled brightly and said, "Do you think that everything will be fine after 7 years? You abducted me to the beast world. Don't you need to take responsibility? Let me tell you, I'm going to depend on you for the rest of my life. You will always be my Susu." Gu Mingming chuckled and nodded. "All right, I will always be your Susu." Aside from the topic, after accompanying Susu for over 200 days, we finally welcome the ending of this novel. I wonder if my darlings are satisfied with this ending? The process was a little complicated, but the outcome was ultimately good. If any of my darlings is willing to transmigrate to the beast world and continue writing chapters, you can leave a long comment on the comments section, or send a private message to Susu through the fan group. Outstanding works with a length of 1,000 words and above would be published by Susu in the form of a free novel in the external chapters, with the reader's name indicated. But to avoid copyright infringement, my darlings must not copy other people's novels. Once discovered, it will be deleted immediately. Lastly, please advertise Susu's new novel, Warm Thoughts on a Pillow. Don't stop taking the CEO's medication. Chapter 1629. Traversing the Doors of Time and Space. This option was just a smokescreen from the start. Standing at the entrance of S University, Gu Mingming was still in a daze. Her little reader had first replaced her as the messenger of the beast deity. Then with Oratin's disappearance, she had replaced her as the new beast deity. Then, Gu Mingming was suddenly at a loss. Not the messenger of the beast deity, not the beast deity. Then, who should Gu Mingming be? What should she do? Return to Saint Nazir? But to her, 3 years and 1,000 days were 1,000 earth-shattering years in the beast world. How could she, the messenger of the beast deity who had been dead for 1,000 years, return? Of course, no one could stop her if she wanted to return. After all, a family of 5 and 3 beast kings was enough to turn the beast world upside down. But how could she return to face everything that had changed? Barit, who said he wanted to guard a place for her to return to, had long turned into ashes, unable to break through the third-level boundary. He said his life was in the hands of one person, and other than that person, he would not belong to anyone else. Although the 16 valued females were well taken care of, there was a limit to their beast lives. Without the powers of a beast king, they could not be immortal like Gu Mingming. Since ancient times, beauties were like heroes, not allowed to see their hair turn white. The 16 golden hairpins who had once surrounded her, the 16 beauties who made her feel proud wherever she went, had gradually faded away with the passage of time. How could she not feel sorry for them? She could not return, not because someone was stopping her, but because Gu Mingming herself could not overcome the barrier in her heart. Therefore, she muddle-headedly stayed in her beast deity illusion for a long period of time. The question she repeatedly pondered was, who am I? Where am I? What should I do? Snake curled his tail and wrapped Gu Mingming into his arms, saying, "If you are bored, go back to the modern world. Gu Mingming was taken aback, tilting her head to look at Snake. Her eyes were full of excitement, but also full of doubt, as if she did not understand Snake's meaning, and was waiting for him to explain. Snake's lips curled up, saying, "The last time my parents supported you at the press conference, you suddenly cried and I carried you away. Time there is still at the same place. Do you want to go back and finish acting that overbearing senior falls in love with me? Since you know it's all fake, why do you have to lie to yourself?" Gu Mingming's spirit wilted and the light in her eyes dimmed. But Snake smiled and said, "Truth can be false and falsehood can also be true. This world has always been like this. Everyone said that Zhuangzhou dreamed of a butterfly, but who could guarantee that it was not a butterfly dreaming of Zhuangzhou? Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he could just treat it as a pastime. Besides, halfway through his sentence, Snake planted a human kiss on Gu Mingming's forehead. He said in a deep and calm tone, "I promised to give you a complete family, so I must do it. Regardless of whether other things are true or false, we who are by your side are true. That's enough, isn't it?" It was obvious that after experiencing the baptism of the modern world, Snake knew how to communicate with females better than Elvis, Leah, or anyone else in the beast world. He was no longer the awkward Snake King who had kicked little shit up a tree. Gu Mingming's lips curled. Yeah, so what if the illusion was fake? Elvis, Leah, Grace and Snake, who were by her side, were real. That was enough. "What about you? What do you say? Are you willing to act out a show with me?" Gu Mingming asked. Digression. She did not want to write the digression, but the little babies kept saying that the overbearing senior did not see the ending and kept thinking about it. So Susu picked up her pen again and continued writing. Chapter 1630. Elvis walked forward and scooped Gu Mingming out of Snake's arms. "I will always listen to Xiao Meng." Gu Mingming nodded. Since Elvis was acting like the first partner, Leah naturally could not bully him as a senior. Hence, he leaned into Gu Mingming's arms in his usual flirtatious manner. "That place is Snake's home ground. Gu Mingming, you have to protect me and not let Snake bully me like he did in the Snake King Valley. Aya, my little heart is thumping nonstop. I'm scared and excited at the same time." Gu Mingming, touch me. This coquettish fox was up to his old tricks again. Just look at his eyes. Without even opening his mouth, Snake could read the hidden meaning in his words. See, Gu Mingming's heart is still on our side. But unfortunately, he could no longer bear to kill this coquettish fox who kept provoking him for no reason. After all, they were a family. Moreover, Gu Mingming was a treasure that he had exchanged for after dying twice in the most tragic way. He would rather turn his bones into ashes than let her frown again. So, even if this coquettish fox could ascend to the heavens, he could only whip him down with his tail. He could not whip him to death. Elvis and Leah both expressed their stance. Gu Mingming's gaze naturally landed on Gregory. Gregory's status in this family was rather special and awkward. He was not Gu Mingming's partner, but a guardian beast. But her partners were all beast kings. Was it his turn to protect her? But what could he do? Even if it was awkward, even if it was difficult, he still wanted to stay by her side and never leave her side. Smiling, Gregory was like a celestial being who stayed on the mountain for a long time. His eyes were as deep as an ancient spring. He opened his mouth and said calmly, "Wherever Baby Meng is, I will be there." The result of everyone passing was that Snake brought them back to the time when they left the last time. Elvis, Leah and Gregory could not appear in Z country without identification cards. So they could only go to F country with Snake's arrangements. Snake's family was the royal family there. Especially in the recent 10 over years, under Snake's control, the family became stronger day by day. It was too easy for such a family to get a few identification cards. Moreover, Elvis and the rest looked more European. If they insisted that they were from Z country, it would be even more out of place. However, among the 3 people who were arranged to go to country F, the first one who could come to country Z was not the 2 beast kings, but the guardian beast, Gregory. His identity was simple. He was the personal bodyguard Snake had arranged for Gu Mingming. Yeah, because the newly appointed CEO of Monsieur Company, Snake's pampered girlfriend, was locked in the toilet during the press conference and drenched with a basin of water. Snake's parents unanimously agreed that Gu Mengmeng needed a personal bodyguard. Snakel was speechless and kept telling himself, Xiaomeng needs a pair of parents. This is prepared for Xiaomeng. I can't kill them, I can't kill them, I can't kill them. In the end, Snake could only choose Gregory, who had the lowest presence and had spent the most time with him. After all, to Gu Mengmeng, it was over 1,000 days and nights, but to him, he had really been burning in the lava of Mota Mountain for 1,000 years. And in these 1,000 years, it was this birdman who broke his own wings and sacrificed his life to the mountain, so that he could have the chance to return to Gu Mengmeng's side. Chapter 1631. So, the final outcome was that Snake's parents had unilaterally announced that Gu Mengmeng was the future daughter-in-law of their family. Then, with a bunch of extremely profound and high-class English that they could not understand even though their English had obviously passed the 4th or 6th level, they returned to the country in a high-profile manner. That speech was summed up by Snake in one sentence. Gu Mengmeng is our family's daughter-in-law. Whoever touches her will be challenging the F country's royal family, causing a diplomatic dispute between the two countries. As a result, Gu Mengmeng became the hottest new rich overnight. But the amazing thing was, no one knew who the F country's prince who had a marriage agreement with Gu Mengmeng was. Snake was still a gigolo who was kept by Gu Mengmeng. So Gu Mengmeng, who was surrounded by the crowd at the entrance of S University, was dumbfounded. How should she put it? Her relationship with her husband did not seem to be legal in the modern world. But after being husband and wife for thousands of years, they were suddenly framed by the modern world's marriage values. She, as an authentic modern person, suddenly reverted back to the old ways, and felt like she was not acclimatized. She could almost guess what kind of melodramatic drama the students were imagining. It must be that the F country's prince found out that Gu Mengmeng had kept Snake, the gigolo, in the country and was heartbroken. So he secretly left Z country and returned to F country to heal his emotional wounds. But before he left, he was worried about Gu Mengmeng's safety, afraid that she would be deceived by Snake, the gigolo. So he left his confidant Gregory by Gu Mengmeng's side as a bodyguard, to help this prince who had the Horkin plains above his head look after his wife. Just look at Gregory's strong aura, his burly figure, his handsome looks, tsk. A strong scent of abstinence wafted over. It really made one's heart flutter. Just look, he and Snake were standing on Gu Mengmeng's left and right. Their gazes were like sparks, and one could smell the burning scent even from a distance away. Do you want to eat at home or at the canteen? Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng replied. Let's eat at home and help Gregory learn the way. Gregory replied. All right. I'll listen to you. Snake gave in unconditionally. Crack crack. His knees shattered. What was going on? Wasn't it supposed to be a battle of swords drawn and bows drawn? A battle between a loyal dog's heart and a senior's lover? Why did it suddenly become harmonious? It was said that the road of love had always been narrow. It was just right for two people, but it was destined to be bumpy with one more person. Hiss. But why did it look like the three of them were walking quite widely? One on the left and one on the right, protecting the petite girl in the middle. Their coordination was too good. Of course, they did not know that if Gu Mengmeng's entire family was present, the scene would be even more shocking. Gu Mengmeng had lessons in the morning, which meant that Snake also had lessons in the morning. Because he had voluntarily applied to the school to repeat a year and transfer to the same grade and specialization as Gu Mengmeng, strictly speaking, he was no longer Gu Mengmeng's senior. Yes, he was Gu Mengmeng's legitimate husband. The mark was on his heart. That was a place that was inconvenient for others to see. It was not as conspicuous as the wolf on her collarbone and the fox on her ears, but it made Snake feel deeply that what was the point of dying twice for her? If that kind of situation happened again, he did not mind dying a third time, a fourth time to protect her, even if each death was more tragic than the one before. And each death was more painful than the one before. He would gladly endure it. As long as she was well, he would do anything. Aside from the topic. Previously, you kept asking me why Elvis's mark was not on his heart? Why was Lee's mark not on his heart? Now do you know why? Chapter 1632. Gu Mingming's grades were below average, and she had to work a few jobs a day. In the past, she would usually fall asleep in class, especially when the old professor rambled on and on. His tone and frequency were more effective than hypnosis. But this time, Gu Mingming was so excited that she could not fall asleep. This class was about labor relations and management. The old professor was analyzing the labor dispute case of a certain cartoon company in 2008 due to job hopping. He then explained the importance of labor contract management. To be honest, Gu Mingming was still not paying attention to what the old professor was saying. Her pair of big eyes were looking around the entire classroom, and every detail made her feel pleasantly surprised. Actually, before transmigrating, she had never observed a classroom in such detail. What was there to see about something she was used to? But after going to the beast world and coming back, Gu Mingming felt a sense of familiarity, even from the purple clay cup the old professor was using to drink water. The students' scribbles on the blackboard, the silk banner hanging on the wall, the slogan 5 stresses and 4 beauties on the blackboard, and the old professor's cursive handwriting that was comparable to an old Chinese doctor's prescription. During roll call, there was a female student who used a book to cover her face and changed her voice to call out for the entire dorm. There was a male student who was sleeping soundly on the table. There was a young couple who was sitting diagonally with a wronged expression, and a young couple who was looking at each other with deep love and regret, thinking that they were filming a music video. There was also an ambiguous partner who was sitting next to each other, but pretended not to know each other, but was surrounded by bonus bubbles. University life was so rich. Why did she not realize it in the past? At that time, she could only try her best to survive. How would she have the time to realize all these? He pinched Gu Mingming's little hand. Gu Mingming then regained her senses and looked at Snake. That momentary smile dazzled Snake's eyes, and the depression that he had initially felt also dissipated into thin air. What's wrong? Gu Mingming asked. Snake wanted to put on a cold face, but he could not do so in front of Gu Mingming. The corners of his lips had already betrayed him. Every time he saw Gu Mingming, he would unknowingly smile and could not pull it back. As if he had accepted his fate, Snake's tone was unbelievably soft. He no longer had any of the awe-inspiring aura of the Snake King, who killed decisively in the past. Right now, he was completely a man who fell in love with his wife. All the tenderness in the world was concentrated on the little person in front of him. You haven't looked at me since this morning. Elvis and Leah aren't around, so I have to fight for attention with this lousy school now. Gu Mingming pinched her nose and said exaggeratedly, so sour. My teeth are about to fall off. You still dare to laugh at me? Snake frowned, but his eyes were filled with doting and indulgent smiles. Gu Mingming looked at the old professor who was still explaining the specific details of different labor contracts, and gestured a shoe gesture. She whispered, "We're in class, don't disturb others. Be quiet and be good, Snake gritted his teeth. Obediently? She actually asked him to be obedient. He was the great Lord Snake, the supreme Snake King in the beast world, the most honorable prince in the modern era, the powerful CEO. She actually asked him to be obedient. What was even more hateful was that after she said that, he actually really obediently shut his mouth. Aside from the topic, well, the draft for the new article is still in storage. The speed of the new article cannot be as fast as before, 9,000 a day. The editor meant that 2,000 a day would be enough for me to slowly increase it. But 2,000, even if the editor had the cheek to say that, I would be too embarrassed to agree. So let's temporarily set it at 4,000 a day. If Susu's time permits, she can update a little more babies. You can understand me, right? Chapter 1633. Looking at Snake's conflicted expression, Gu Mingming smiled slyly. He was just too adorable. Yeah, if Snake knew that Gu Mingming used the word adorable to describe him, he might really fly into a rage. But what could he do? He was just adorable. That unsmiling and aloof Prince Charming, Lord Snake, who studied in S University for a year and was treated as a mute and did not speak a single word to his classmates, was now staring with his eyes wide open, as if he had suffered a loss but had nowhere to vent his anger. It was a perfect match for the trending emoticon. I feel bitter in my heart, but I won't say it. This contrast, if it wasn't adorable, what was it? Using the book to cover her face, Gu Mingming pecked Snake's cheek, as if she was deceiving herself. Then she returned to her original position, smiling mischievously at Snake. This kiss brightened up Snake's entire expression. How could he be in a bad mood? Then the surrounding people exploded even more. Hey, the loyal bodyguard who was here to look after the princess wife. Your future princess kissed a gigolo in public, and you're just calmly pretending to be blind. If Gu Mingming and the other two claimed to be number 2, no one would dare to claim to be number 1. Everyone was paying attention to her, but no one dared to go near her. When the news of Gu Mingming being the CEO of Monsieur was released, there were still people who tried to suck up to her. But when the news of F country's future princess was released, the world instantly quietened down. Especially that Miss Mo from the Mo family. She poured a basin of water on them in the toilet, directly soaking the Mo family, a family with 100 years of history. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. And when the wall is down, everyone kicks it. In an instant, the Mo family turned from a well-off wealthy family into a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. All their businesses were suppressed by Snake in all aspects, without any regard for costs. Even if the Mo family had a mountain of gold and silver, it was not enough for Snake to scam them like this, so very quickly, they faced the crisis of having their cash flow broken. This news was magnified by the media, and all the other businesses that had business dealings with them came to settle their accounts, causing the Mo family, a family that was in a precarious situation, to be battered and exhausted. And the one who spread the news of the Mo family's cash flow breaking was the Miss Mo's marriage partner, the other wealthy family in S City, the Fan family. Marriage had nothing to do with love in the first place. You have your fun and I have mine. It was very normal. That was why the young master of the Fan family, Fan Yuanbin, did what he did not because he was jealous of his fiancée for finding trouble with another woman for another man. Instead, it was because the old master of the Mo family had come to ask for help. He hoped that the Fan family would lend a helping hand at this critical juncture, and complete the marriage between Fan Yuanbin and the young lady of the Mo family, Mo Fon, ahead of time. Then he would lend the Mo family a sum of money in the name of betrothal gifts to help the Mo family tide over the current crisis. After the storm had passed and the Mo family had recovered, they would return the money in the name of dowry. However, the Mo clan had forgotten one thing. The so-called marriage alliance was a cooperative relationship that could only be formed when both parties were of equal strength. Right now, the Mo clan was already in existence that everyone avoided like the plague. Chapter 1634. Once this news came out, it was like adding hail to snow. Some of the old business partners who did not press for the debt because of old friendships had no choice but to come to settle the debt. The Mo family really could not fork out the money. None of old Master Mo's antiques were left. They were all moved away. Even the heirloom ring on his finger was forcefully taken off to pay off the debt. Gu Mingming did not know and Snake did not remember any of this. Because although they had transmigrated back a week ago, this week was a long 1,000 years that they had spent in the beast world. Snake experienced the decomposition of his body and was suppressed in the magma of Modu for 1,000 years. After his rebirth, how could he see anyone else other than Gu Mingming? To him, the Mo family's matter was just an order he had sent to his assistant while waiting for Gu Mingming to bathe in the changing room. Moreover, how could he remember a small episode from 1,000 years ago for so long? But to the others here, all of this happened yesterday. Everyone in S City knew how expensive Miss Mo's basin of water was. Under such circumstances, who would dare to go near Gu Mingming? Of course, it would be glorious to cling to her, but if they did not know their limits, they would end up in a terrible state. It was not easy to cling to this thigh. And look at the two people beside her. They did not give anyone a chance to get close to her. So, After Gu Mingming returned to school, other than the countless gazes that lingered on her, the truly annoying ones did not stick to her. But she had been the messenger of the beast deity for over 5 years in the beast world. After being stared at by ferocious wild beasts for 5 years, the gazes of the modern world seemed like child's play, compared to the hundreds of males in Saint Nazaire who used their true forms to stare at her with their green eyes, tearing the carcasses of animals around her, drinking their blood, chewing on the heads of tigers and claws of wolves in front of her. These gazes in the modern world were negligible, because she had completely forgotten the past, and everyone's gazes were treated as ineffective attacks by Gu Mingming. She did not take it to heart. So the Mo family's matter did not cause any ripples in Gu Mingming's heart. Gu Mingming did not have any classes in the afternoon, and Monday was the regular training day for the basketball club. Strictly speaking, Gu Mingming had not seen Bai Lan for over 10 years. She really missed her. To be able to return here and see Bai Lan was definitely the thing that Gu Mingming wanted the most. She dragged Snake and Gregory to the basketball club early in the morning, and saw Bai Lan playing with Zhang Jincheng. The two of them were now in a relationship, but they were not as affectionate as other couples. Instead, they were more like good brothers who would fight each other whenever they saw each other. However, it was one thing for the two of them to insult each other to the point that they were worthless. If an outsider dared to say anything bad about the other party, they would roll up their sleeves and attack without a word of nonsense. Bai Lan. Gu Mingming's eyes reddened the moment she saw Bai Lan. That kind of feeling, as if it was a lifetime ago, directly attacked his heart. Ever since Snake came back to life, Gu Mingming's tears, which she had not shed for so many years, gushed out in an instant, unable to be stopped. Chapter 1635. As she said that, Bai Lan glared fiercely at Snake. Snake really felt like he could not defend himself even with 100 mouths. Feeling wronged by Bai Lan's glare, he leaped up angrily, but could not do anything to this woman. Gu Mingming cared about her, very, very much. She did not say anything and just called out, Bai Lan, before her tears flowed uncontrollably. Snake did not doubt that if he dared to touch a single strand of Bai Lan's hair today, Gu Mingming would drown him with her tears. Gu Mingming cried even more fiercely as she hugged Bai Lan tightly, choking with sobs. I miss you so much, I'll go. Bai Lan quivered. She grabbed Gu Mingming's shoulders and pulled her away. Glancing at her tearful little face, she hugged her harshly back into her arms. She said in an especially manly manner, All right, I'll satisfy you. Go back to the dormitory to sleep tonight. If you can get off the bed tomorrow, it'll be my loss. Actually, girls would occasionally crack such jokes among themselves, but most of the time it was in private, when there were no boys around. Other than Bai Lan, there was probably no other girl in this world who dared to say something like that in front of everyone. Gu Mingming was tickled by Bai Lan's words. She punched Bai Lan lightly and sniffled. If I occupy you, what will happen to Zhang Jincheng? Bai Lan laughed heartily and said, Both of us have become lesbians, then let him go and be gay with Snake. Wife-swapping games, it's quite exciting just thinking about it. Haha. Gu Mingming was someone who had lived for more than 1,000 years, but she still could not withstand Bai Lan's charms. Pinching Bai Lan, Gu Mingming was just about to scold her for not being serious when her waist tightened. Gu Mingming was suddenly pulled from behind and fell into a chest. Turning back, she met Gregory's cold and calm eyes. He was looking at Bai Lan with an extremely unfriendly gaze. His brows were slightly furrowed. As if he was sizing up whether Bai Lan was male or female, Gu Mingming was stunned. She then remembered that Gregory came from the beast world. This was his first time interacting with a modern person. He would definitely not be able to adapt to Bai Lan's heavy-taste jokes. She wanted to explain but could not find the right words, so she could only turn to Snake for help. But the moment she saw Snake's face fine, because of Bai Lan's wife-swapping joke, this old man's face was about to freeze, so he obviously wouldn't help. Gu Mingming's current position was a little awkward, because the way Gregory carried her was the same way Elvis carried her in the beast world, supporting his buttocks with one arm, as if he was carrying a child. This was very normal in the beast world, but in the modern world, basically no boyfriend had ever hugged his girlfriend like this. Especially since in everyone's eyes, Snake was Gu Mingming's boyfriend, while Gregory was just a bodyguard. This is... Bailan's expression was also unfriendly. She had already noticed Gregory just now, but Gu Mingming cried the moment she saw him, so she did not have the time to ask. Now even her real boyfriend didn't dare to snatch him from her hands, but a hothead who popped out of nowhere dared to snatch him from her hands. Chapter 1636. Gu Mingming patted Gregory's shoulder and said, "Put me down first." Gregory's brows were still furrowed, and he was obviously on guard against Bailan. "Gregory." Gu Mingming frowned and her gaze was filled with urgency. Her eyes were still red from crying and Gregory naturally could not bear to make her angry again. So he placed her on the ground but kept his arms around her shoulders and did not allow her to walk over to Bailan. Gu Mingming had no choice but to say to Gregory, "This is Bailan, a very important friend to me. Just as important as Sandy. Understand?" Gu Mingming purposely emphasized on the word very important, and even used Sandy as an example. Although Gregory was still frowning, he had retracted his cold aura, and just nodded as a form of greeting. Gu Mingming knew that Gregory would at least not lay a hand on Bailan, and heaved a sigh of relief. She turned to look at Bailan and said, "He is Gregory, he is my..." Gu Mingming suddenly bit her own tongue. How should she introduce him? "This is my guardian beast, the kind that can die for me but cannot enter my bed." Gu Mingming already felt awkward introducing guardian beasts in the beast world, and now that she was in the present world, she could not bring herself to say it. "Pursuer." Snake gave Gu Mingming a simple reminder, and gave her a suitable phrase. Gu Mingming looked at Snake gratefully as if she had just been pardoned and said, "Yes, yes, yes, pursuer." F***CK. Bailan's eyes widened, and she wrapped her arms around Gu Mingming's to pull her to her side. If she were to grab a handful of melon seeds and munch on them, she would be a modern gossipy woman. Bailan nudged Gu Mingming with her shoulder and said, How did you do it? You made these two love rivals coexist peacefully, and even work together to fight against outsiders? But girl, your taste is not good. How can you find one who looks like a mute, and another who still looks like a mute?" Gu Mingming could not explain to Bailan how loyal the males in the beast world were to their own females, and she did not want to change their stubbornness. Call her selfish, call her anything, but she frankly admitted that she liked and enjoyed the loyalty and unique gentleness they gave her. So Gu Mingming just smiled and said, "I like the ice abstinence type." "TSK, do you have masochistic tendencies? Isn't it good to coax you every day? You like to hug ice cubes. Aren't you afraid that you'll freeze?" "I won't." Gu Mingming chuckled because she knew better than anyone else how warm her man was to her. He would never freeze her. Bailan smiled slyly, a different kind of ambiguity appearing in the corner of Gu Mingming's eyes. She nudged Bailan with her shoulder. "Aya, you are so annoying. Are you shy?" As Bailan spoke, she held Gu Mingming and walked to the side. When she passed by Zhang Jincheng, she said with a look of disdain, "Aren't you the leader? Everyone is here. Don't we need to organize a practice? So you're all here to let out some fresh air in the basketball club, right?" Zhang Jincheng did not lose his temper even after being teased by Bailan. He just chuckled and said, Yes, 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 let's hurry up and practice." The Tech University basketball team sent us a challenge letter and indicated that they want to meet Snake. When the time comes, the surrounding universities' basketball clubs will all send representatives to watch the match. Snake, whether our basketball club can become an instant hit depends on you. Aside from the topic, that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.